Hey horror fans, thanks for joining me for this review of Midnight Mass. Cast and crew information down below, along with the IMDb plot, which I'll read real quickly. An isolated island community experiences miraculous events and frightening omens after the arrival of a charismatic, mysterious young priest. Alright, so this follows the line of the haunting of Hill House and also Bly Manor. Lots of hauntings going on there, and this is kind of this series of, I guess, mini series put out by Mike Flanagan, and so he's been kind of on a roll with these things for Netflix, and I reviewed the other two, and so of course I had to get to this one. And I know I'm a little behind. Um, Finally, kind of caught up. I didn't expect to see Midnight Mass so quickly, but I was luckily able to squeeze that in, and now I'm here. And I guess I'll give you my favorite of the three when we get to the end um, of this video. And but I guess the first thing to say is about this one. I was surprised was much different than the first two. I think the first two, you can see a lot of similarities in the stories. You know, lots of both of them use some young kids. Um, do a lot of back and forth between the present and the past, and obviously are in some big um, houses that are haunted, or mansions, really. And this one is kind of a different setting. Does do a little bit of the back and forth between past and present. There is that, but maybe not in the same not to the same extreme as the other one, or the other two. But there is some mixing around. I guess he likes to mix around the time periods here. So um, you do get to learn about certain characters and go back in time a little bit with some more than others, as you kind of piece together the which characters you need to know more about. And but this one doesn't really feature a big haunting of a house. um, this one is set on a small remote island, not a lot of people, not a lot of tourists, not a lot of everybody's there, kind of knows each other. Um, has been some families have been there a really long time, that kind of thing going on, and I guess the main family here that's followed is the Flynn family, and the main character that's kind of at the head of everything here is Riley, one of the sons, the older son, and really early on, uh, you see him. Basically, he's killed somebody. He's been drinking and driving, and he's killed a young girl, young woman, and basically been put in jail because of that incident. And now he's out of jail, and has nowhere else to go but return home to this island. He's left, he left his family behind for a while now, and he kind of made some money and did some startups and got involved in tech or whatever, so forth, and was doing fine, but then had that unfortunate event, and now has come home basically with nothing. Um, and what you find here is that he's had a lot of time to think, obviously in jail, a lot of time to read about religion and blah blah blah, and he's come back basically an atheist. He knows a lot about religion, but he's basically put it all behind him. Unlike his family, who is still very religious. You'll see that. You'll see there is a certain portion of the people that are on this island, who are very religious, who go to there's one church there that we see, and has an okay following, but not everybody on this island goes to church. Not everybody participates here. Um, but this church has had the same priests for a really long time. But at some point, um, the priest has gotten old. He got a little sick. Went on I guess, I don't know if you want to call it a religious retreat or something to that effect. Left the island, and X, Y, and Z, kind of happens to him. So therefore, this church needs a replacement. So uh, they get sent a replacement, Father Paul, and nobody knows too much about him. He kind of shows up, a little bit awkward, which would be expected. Um, but you see him, kind of really wanting to do the best he can. He kind of explains a little bit about the previous priest and how a father, whatever, how he's not going to come back for some time, and so he's going to fill in for the time being. And so they proceed with mass, and he kind of gets to know some of the people, reaches out. Um, the church has a woman who's, I guess, it's kind of her job is to kind of, take care of the church, take care of the rec hall they have there. She's just kind of like in charge. She's, obviously not the priest or a nun or anything like that, but she's all in. Like, she's super religious, all in. She even tells the priest, you did this and whatever wrong, but and he's like, okay, blah blah. Um, no disrespect to anybody out there, but let's just call her the religious nut here. She goes, pushes it just way way too far. Um, so you kind of have that going on here. So obviously, when you have someone like Riley who's come back after all this time, and now he's atheist, that's kind of play a role. Obviously, his family wants him to go to church, so he appeases them and he goes to church. But he doesn't really want to take communion because, again, in his mind, he's atheist and he doesn't. Um, uh, doesn't want to offend anybody, and his mom is kind of like, she really wants him to. There's a little bit of awkwardness at home. He's obviously some things going on with his parents, especially his dad. Lots of little dynamics going on here between the religious and the family stuff, and him kind of coming back. There's also um, him meeting a woman who I guess he had been very good friends with, maybe a relationship back in time, um, that was there at play, whatever. So he kind of is kind of rekindling a bond or friendship with her. It's short of the romantics here. You kind of got that feel that maybe they were at one time, or maybe they still are, but she's pregnant now. There's a whole story with that. So these are some things that are going on here. As far as the horror of the situation, I don't, since this is the newest of the three movies, and still I tried to be spoiler free with the other two when I did reviews for those. And be spoiler free here as well, because there's a big thing that's going to happen eventually, and if I kind of give that away, that's kind of ruins it for you guys. Um, but I guess early on, you see Riley's younger brother. He kind of sneaks off with his friends. I think it was maybe in the first or second episode. Um, and this is not a long one. This was 7, and I think some of the other two, I think, they seemed longer. I don't know. They kind of sneak away. They go to this. It seemed like maybe a little island, or maybe the other part of the island. And they're there, and they're there to kind of smoke and kind of get away, from everybody. And while they're there, there's lots of cats there, and they hear some weird sounds. Whatever, they find a dead cat, and you kind of get this vibe that there's something out there. There's something in these bushes and these woods that they're there, but you don't get to see it. Um, there is a storm coming. There's a storm hits a little bit later on in a different time. The kids are fine, whatever, they move on. Um, and all these cats, after the storm is over, have washed up on shore. All dead, all with the blood basically sucked from them, all with apparent wounds from the neck. Um, you may draw your assumptions from that as you will, um, but that is kind of laying the foundation a little bit to what's to come. But there's going to be a lot of build here going on here before you really kind of see what's happening. Um, one, while characters, I'm trying to think the best way to say this without spoiling anything. You are gonna, like I said, learn things about characters as time goes on. You obviously learn about this community. Um, it's basically the ones that are religious versus the non-religious ones. Um, let's say some miracles start to happen, and as these so-called miracles start to happen, that draws a few more people to the church. Kind of sets a buzz between the people that are already religious, and maybe kind of pulls in some of the people that maybe aren't, but it kind of gets the church going, kind of gives it that kickstart that it kind of needs. And so there's kind of a lot going on there. uh, but then there's one character that in particular that you're going to find out their background, what they have to do with everything, and kind of their big secret, and that's going to play a big role in what happens. A big opening to the horror that comes in this series. Again, I'm being very short on it because if you haven't seen it, I don't want to ruin it. Um, but that's kind of opened the door, and of course, it's going to play a role um, with Riley and what happened to him. And another, I guess, part of the horror that kind of is on early on. Um, and they just do a really good job of this, and they do it a couple of times in different ways. Is Riley kind of has these nightmares or flashes, or and I'm gonna say maybe they were a nightmare. Some of them might come in nightmare form, and others are when he just kind of lays down and before he goes to sleep, he kind of sees this image of uh, the girl that he killed, and it's kind of a weird glassy kind of image of her, but it's kind of very freaky looking. And I thought they did it wonderfully. And kind of when I saw that, I kind of went back to the other two series where we kind of had the woman with the broken neck, and then we had the woman that came out of the water. So I was kind of thinking that um, we were kind of get maybe that kind of thing going here as well. Um, but it's not like those are good horror images. There's something that haunted him, but that's not the true horror of the story, and what is truly playing here. And I don't think that's really spoiling anything. I think you guys kind of figured that out real quickly, that's something that's just kind of haunting him. And they kind of do that in the first you know couple of episodes, and then that kind of fades away as you see something else of horror is happening here. Um, the thing that kind of got me about this one is that it's very, very religiously drawn. Um, I not while I am religious, I'm not going to say I'm the biggest religious person out there and know a whole lot about it. Um, Obviously, the more you know, the more that you may be able to take in that's going on here. But there's just it's super religious. Like it's just a lot of um, phrasing of it. There's lots of pulling verses and whatever from the Bible, and just a lot of religious talk. There's a scene where Riley and the woman that he likes has a relationship with there. They have this huge conversation about death and what each one of them thinks happens when you die. So there's this huge scene where he goes through what he thinks, she goes through what she thinks happen. So you have to sit through this long conversation of them kind of explaining it. You know, so there's that talk about death as well. Um, but there's just a lot of religious back and forth. Obviously, there's the priest there. The priest, tries to help Riley out. Riley's supposed to go to Alcoholics Anonymous, and in order to do that, the first time he kind of goes off the island, but then the priest offers, say, hey, I can do that here for you, and make a request so that you don't have to leave the island. So they have this awkward one-on-one meeting, where it's just the two of them, and they basically have a lot of conversation, a lot of soul searching. Obviously, a lot of that has to do with religion. Obviously, you have the priest who wants Riley to come back to religion. Riley who's telling him every reason why he's not and he shouldn't, and the priest is trying to get it out of him, trying to get him to come back. The priest is, like I said, there's this religious nut woman here who everything with her she takes to the extreme. So you get a lot from her. Let's just say, not everybody out there, but I'm going to say maybe a large portion of you guys are not going to like her. If you're like me and you're kind of sometimes watch horror and you're like, you find that one person that you just like, I can't wait till they die. When they die, I'm going to celebrate. Yeah, it's her. She, as religious as she is, she's just not a good person. You'll see that. She twists religion in her favor. She's very racist while saying that she's not. There's a guy who is of prays to Allah and is Muslim. Him and his son, and obviously they stand out on the island, and he's the sheriff, and basically is disrespected because of that, and especially in her eyes, and she shows him no respect, and he's kind of finding it hard to he doesn't have the hardest job. There's not a whole lot of crime going on here, but he is the sheriff. But I guess he doesn't have that respect that you would think that a sheriff would have. So there's that kind of thing going on here, but it's just I was kind of taken aback. When watching the first two here and then watching this, and just how hugely religious this is, and I credit the filmmakers here or the writers, whatever. I don't know how religious they are or whatever, or how much research they had to do, or they just knew it or whatever. But to kind of put all these religious talks and battles back and forth, and depending how you guys take it, I mean, some people just watch and may not kind of pay as close attention to some of the what they're really trying to say, or some of you that are attentive and are like into it, what your viewpoint on religion is and death and that kind of thing. Some might enjoy it more than others. I'll admittedly say, some of it I tuned out, some of it I did find interesting. There are, things that they bring about, interesting conversations. But, to me it was just a lot, more than I expected. So at times I was a little worn down by it. And I just was kind of like, can we get to the horror part of it now? I think it will eventually hit a point where horror fans will enjoy and finally get to that point. It has a really crazy ending. I think, and the last 2 episodes or so, it kind of just, when you see kind of things kind of start rolling downhill, and you're going to get revealed what's kind of going on here, and then it kind of is going to kind of open your eyes, and you're going to kind of, I'm not going to say it's hugely predictable, but you're going to say that, okay, this is not going to end well for X, Y, and Z and certain people and blah blah blah. It is going to get wild. It is going to get crazy. It's finally going to hit the horror. And even when it hits the horror, it's still going to be religious there. It's still going to be there. It's never going to escape. It's never going to end. There is still that religion to go there. There are secrets. Again, why I'm trying to be as vague as possible here. Um, there are, like I said, some characters you're gonna learn a lot more about than others. You're gonna learn that there are other connections that maybe you didn't expect. Like I said, there are gonna be some really weird, there's gonna be miracles happening here, and slowly, and some are gonna be, are very obvious and kind of given to you, and then others you're gonna kind of maybe notice as you're kind of watching without them kind of directly showing you, or directly pointing out. Um, some, like I said, so, some are going to be very obvious and they're going to point them out to you, and others, um, you're just going to have to watch and kind of see as things kind of change. But there are these so-called miracles that are happening, but there's reason that these miracles are happening. And then it's going to flip to horror, and like I said, it is a wild and crazy kind of ending here, and yeah, I think you'll get the horror eventually, when that's what you're looking for. Um, but yeah, this one, like I said, the most I can say about it is it's definitely different than the other two series. I say not a movie, series. Still very very well done. The acting is fantastic. This one is short on little kids. Not a whole lot of little kids in here. I don't think there's many major little kids in here. Everybody's basically an adult, or I think his brother's an older teen, a couple of older teens, I guess I should say, um, or maybe young ones in their young 20s. But not many major little kids here. Um, so kind of going in that direction. It doesn't really have anything to do with ghosts. And just like I said, be ready for lots of religion coming your way. Um, and I think at first you might think it's one thing, but it's going to be something else, and then it's going to be very clear to what it is. Some really freaky scenes, um, with I just keep saying it, the horror that's to come, or whatever. With the horror, there's a creepy moment or two, and then there's, um, lots of blood to be spilled, eventually, and lots of craziness, once it gets late in the series. So, like I said, just brace yourself for the religion. Get ready for that. Get ready for that conversation. And a heavy dose of it, um, before the real horror, happens here. But it gives you a lot to think about, and again, depending on your thoughts of religion and how religious you are, if you're really anti-religious and don't care for it or whatever, you just might not like this at all. Then, if you just don't want to hear religious talk and whatever, then this just might not really be for you. But if you're kind of open to that, or you are religious, and you're interested in different views, or just the religious conversation back and forth to what people think, and just a lot whatever, points of views that are being brought out. I don't want to dive into it. Like I said, I'm not the person for it. Um, but I enjoyed some of the conversation. Others of it was just beyond me, and what I know for religion, and so forth. So, um, I guess that's really all I can say in a nutshell, without giving it away, any the secrets of this story away. I think if you watch the other two, you know that, um, there are secrets to come as this goes on, and you ultimately learn what you need to know about the important characters in the end, and there might be a surprise or two, and there are some surprises here by the time this one ends. Um, and I'm gonna say, like the other ones, maybe not the most happiest of endings. I'm not gonna say the other ones had the most happiest of endings either. I think I guess it depends on what character and who you're coming from. This one just not gonna have the most happiest of endings, either. It is gonna have some sad moments too, but it is what it is, and that's fine in horror. I'd rather have the not so happy endings than the happy endings. I mean, it's horror; it makes no sense. Let's have some more unhappy endings. Um, but yeah, so at the end of the day, I'm gonna give this one three pools of blood, just because it was just a tad too religious for me. Um, but still, like I said, it is a great series. Like I said, 7 episodes. I don't want to take any, giving it 3 pools of blood out of 5. I don't want to take anything away from it. I'm just kind of saying that and kind of piecing that together with the other two. Um, I think at the end of the day, like I said, which one I would say I like the most. I think I like the first one the most, The Haunting of Hill House. Um, Again, not to take anything away from Blind Manor, I think that was very good. Um, it had its elements, it had its scares, but I think I hate to say, I don't want to call it the original, but it was where it started, and or this series of mini series or whatever started. Um, and I'm not gonna say he couldn't top it. I mean, like Blind Manor was very close. I just like I said, like I think I said in the Blind Manor review, just felt a little bit more connection to what was going on in the first in the Haunted Hill um, than what was going on in Blind Manor, and I thought Blind Manor kind of got intertwined maybe a little bit too much with a love story that was going on there more than I wanted. um, where while there is some of that in all three of these series, I thought maybe that one went a little bit further than any of the others. Um, and like I'm here for horror and whatever with the love stories. I don't know, but it is what it is. So I think I liked Haunted Hill, the Haunting of Hill House. I keep messing that up, but whatever it is, I think I said it in the Blind Manor review too. Whatever it is, you know what I mean. Can't get it straight. The Haunting of Hill House. Yeah, that is it. I liked that one the most. Probably kind of in order. One, two, three, one, two, three. That Blind Manor and now Midnight Mass. But all three are worth watching. Um, all three are terrifically done and well acted and great stories, and definitely worth seeing. And I believe Mike Flanagan's working on something else. I don't remember if it's tied in kind of with this or something completely different. But he did such a fantastic job with these. I'm sure he's not short on finding work and finding other projects and other ideas. And certainly made a huge fan of me, and definitely will be seeing anything else he does here in the future. So with that, again, 3 pools of blood out of 5 for Midnight Mass, and you'll see why it's called Midnight Mass eventually as well. So with that, horror_reviews.blogspot.com is where you can find more of my reviews. The video ones are there. But if you just want video ones, you can just subscribe to this channel. But if you want other reviews, there are written reviews there as well. Lots of current stuff. Lots of stuff that's usually on Shudder I put there, and some other things that I screeners that I get and so forth are there as well. And Twitter, Facebook information down below. You can reach me there, talk about this show, the other two, all of them in general, or if you just want to talk about horror, or you want to have something you want me to review, or you think that I should review, please feel to make a suggestion or let me know. Do so as well in the comments section if you want to comment on the video as a whole, or the show, this series, the other series, or anything else horror-wise. Feel free to do so. Yeah, and I guess it's with that. Like I said, I've reviewed all three now, and all three are video reviews, so you can, just kind of scroll through and find them. If you want to see my thoughts on the other two series, or if you're just interested in this one, there you go. With that, I will catch you on the next review, horror fans.